that you stand for. And it's also very data heavy in the sense that Facebook allows you to send targeted messaging to a specific demographic. You can say, I only want to send this to people who are 25 to 30 who are male who live in Ludhiana. You can specify that deeply your message. So that's very targeted. Now, the kind of person that should be running your Facebook also needs a certain skill set. It's not just everyone can run all kinds of social media. And I would really urge you to have these people running your Facebook, people who understand your company culture and ethos, really stand for your brand, people who are fluent in popular culture. This is so important because you can't be cool, fun, and trendy if you know nothing about anything cool, fun, and trendy. So you need to have someone who's running that for you who really understands that space. You have to have organization and planning skills. Facebook is a lot of fun on a personal level, but from a brand perspective, you need to plan out how often will you post, what will you post about, will there be polls, will there be images, do the research and figure out what works best. And analytical abilities, because Facebook gives you a whole lot of data and the ability to mine it. So you need someone who has that analytical bent in mind. Twitter, however, is completely different. Twitter is a conversation, a two-way conversation that's happening constantly. And it's almost like a second life, a second world that I think some of you might be on right now, having a virtual conversation side by side. And the kind of benefits you get from Twitter are that it's very engaging, it's very interactive, it's like literally a powwow, back and forth conversation. You don't have to wait and go check back 2 days later on when you got a comment. You'll probably get it right away. It's a great customer service channel, and some brands do this really well, where they really connect with their consumer. And I had this experience with Crossword Bookstore. I was looking for a copy of Love Actually, my favorite movie, and I tweeted them, and I said, where can I find a copy? And they wrote back, and they're like, this store, it's saved for you, go ask for Akshay at Shopper Stop, and I was completely blown away. But it's a great opportunity to do that. It's a great trend barometer because on Twitter, you will constantly know what's on trend. In fact, all those hashtags, you'll know exactly what people in your target audience are talking about or crazy about at this moment, whether it's like what I ate last night or something political or something serious. That gives you a trend, a first glimpse right away. So the person who should be running your Twitter for you needs these qualities. They need to be strong communicators. They have to have great interpersonal skills. They need to be able to chat with someone and make that strong personality impression. They need to be able to think on their feet because, you know, there might be something that needs to be responded to. They can't wait for a 3-office chain mail to come back and say, okay, this is how you should reply or fix your punctuation. And they need to be independent. They need to have a little authority to say, okay, you're running this for us. Here are the brand values you must know. Follow this and reply as you would, as your personality that fits this brand. And third, Google+. Now, Google+ is kind of a content sharing space because it has all these different ways that you can share your content. And I think one of the key differences is the live hangouts. We do a lot of live hangouts with Google, which are live from a fashion week or the first of its kind, a shopping event or anything like that can be done live and interactively. It also lets you segment through circles, and it lets you claim your authored content because you can link your Google page to the content you've created. And it has great SEO benefits because it also shows up in Google searches. But the person that needs to run your Google page needs a little more tech savviness because Hangouts require some basic tech skills, and this is a little more content heavy in terms of creating video content. So again, these are all 3 different kinds of people who should be running your different social media. So to take away once again, one size does not fit all. Understand which platforms are good for you. Figure out those are the ones that you're going to use, and you may use some better than others. Identify the social networks that best suit your needs, and then hire the people who understand the medium and its strengths. And one major pet peeve I have is that a lot of brands always give the most senior person in their company, here, you handle the Twitter, or here, you handle the Facebook. And chances are they're not the right person to run that for you. You probably need someone who has different skills, who might be a much younger person, who could even be an intern at the office, who will do a much better job at running your social media for you. And this one, I'm sure this is very controversial, but I'm going to bring it up. You need to stop obsessing about your ROI. I know we get so stuck in this, and believe me, I understand. I'm also a businesswoman. Return on investment is so important, but I need you to think about social media in a slightly different way. Think about this. You can buy likes, but you cannot buy love. And I found this little graphic, which I think says it best, that you got the girl because you threw a lot of money at her, but you're not her type. You know, so you need to make sure what you're giving out is really value for that customer as well. Now, ROI can be measured in different ways. You're maybe looking at it directly in a sales metric, but there's so many other ways that you can measure your returns. Think about this. You can measure how much awareness there is about your brand. You can measure the reach, that means impressions it's made across. Engagement, how much people are interacting with your brand. Resonance, that's how many shares you get. All of these things are measurable on social media. Sentiment, and there's great tools that tell you whether people are very positive or very negative about your brand. And obviously feedback, suggestions, super valuable, something that terrestrial advertising didn't usually give you the opportunity until someone pulled out a postcard and sent it to you. And loyalty, how often are those customers coming back to you? All of these are really important things for you to measure for your brand. So take away from this, you need to look beyond the ROI. It's so important, but don't let it get in the way of building something really authentic, something that's going to have a much more lasting impact, which is what I feel from my example. I didn't build it looking at what do I get in return for writing this content. I built the content, I got the loyalty, and now I'm reaping the rewards, right? The true power of social media can only be unlocked by an honest, organic, true following, and that's really, really important for you to know. And true trust, loyalty, respect, you can't buy those, but you do need those to build the right tools. You know, it's not just like, okay, well, I'm just going to be a nice, happy, shiny person and wait for it all come to me. No, you need to also put in the effort to build the right tools, to put out the right content, and that will give you a return. Fourth thing that I think is so key, to steal a phrase from Salman Khan, be human. Being human is so important. Even though we're doing it over a computer, remember there's still another human being on the other side that's interacting with you. This is a great example and one of my favorites. This is a girl in the US who posted a tweet saying, can you tell how much I love chocolate? Because I follow both Kit Kat and Oreo, okay? She tagged them both. This is how the brands addressed this in response. Kit Kat challenged Oreo to a game of tic-tac-toe for the affections of this follower. So suddenly you're like, Kit Kat, that's hilarious, and that's cool, what a cool idea, and made this great interactive proposition. Oreo responded with this tweet saying, well, I'm not going to play, but I got hungry, so I ate part of the Kit Kat. So suddenly these two huge these brands that you think of as brands, Kit Kat and Oreo, have become these cool kids who are sort of fighting over the girl. And you suddenly like them so much more. And now I follow both of them because I thought that was just the coolest thing. And that was just such a simple thing for them to do. They didn't end up playing tic-tac-toe. Nobody won. They both, nobody won the match, but they both won the following and the attention and the personality that they were trying to create. A little more serious example, there was some major hacking that happened earlier last year where both Burger King and Jeep were hacked, and all of Burger King's, pictures were replaced by McDonald's. It was a huge scandal. But when it all died down, Burger King, which had the same issue as Jeep, tweeted Jeep saying, glad everything's back to normal. And I love Jeep's response saying, thanks, BK. Let us know if you want to grab a burger and swap stories. We'll drive. And that was so great, right? Because suddenly these two brands are being super human, likable, and look at the reaction they got. This is what fans had to say. Best tweet ever, LOL. This is so great. Love interaction between brands. This is awesome, great job. And these are real people because just as you laughed and thought that was, hey, that's so cool that they did that, that's really how most people will think. So suddenly you've taken that whole fuddy-duddy corporate attitude from your brand and made it this cool kid in class that everybody wants to be friends with. And if you keep that in mind, there is absolutely no doubt in my mind that people will love your brand and want to be connected to it. And the next time I go out to eat a burger, I'll probably remember this and be like, you know what, let's go to Burger King. They're cool. And that's the return. Takeaways, human touch. No one wants to have sustained interactions with, an inanimate entity. And I think a great example in India is Hippo chips. I don't know if you guys follow Hello Me Hippo. It's so cute, Hippo will, say I'll diet tomorrow and things like that. And literally, I remember tweeting on the way here because my flight was late that I wish I had a bag of chips, Hippo chips, so I could have something to read because I forgot my magazine and a bag of chips. And it's just creating that really fun personality to go with it. I was speaking at another conference and I was talking to Fevicol and Pidilite, and everyone knows Fevicol and they're part of Pidilite. And I said, what if you created a Twitter character called Chipku? And what if Chipku just sent tweets to Shah Rukh Khan all day or people that he loves all day? And suddenly your brand is aligned with this fun, cutesy character that you will remember as the glue company far longer than you'll remember Fevicol Pidilite. So create characters that embody your brand. For me, it was Miss Malini. And those characters can comment on your behalf and be much more likable, and mostly people will look at you as a real friend and a person. So if you do throw some brand messaging in between, they won't mind, and they'll probably be more likely to listen and pay attention. Communicate like a human. It's so important. There's no place for a formal essay in the digital world. The digital world is really something we've all created because we got so tired of our lives being dark and boring. That's really where the internet has come from. And that's why it needs to be a fun, interactive place where you get to reinvent yourself. And I always say this, don't take yourself so seriously. Have fun with it. At the end of the day, we're here for this journey together. Let's enjoy it. Let's do creative new things. And finally, commit to it. I don't know how many of you have gone bungee jumping. I'm going to do it soon, I promise. But you really have to dive in. It's that scary feeling when you get to the top and you're like, oh my God, I've kind of done something similar. But you have the harness there. If you do your homework, you're harnessed in with the right homework, the strategy, all of that is behind you. Now, all you have to do is jump. And the rewards will be amazing. Once you get off that first scary thing of, oh, what's social media, you'll dive in and you'll have a blast. You'll be bouncing around and having a great time. So finally, my final takeaway, commit. Social media is fun, it's personal, it's informal, it's interactive. It's like one of my favorite things in the world. And don't be fooled though, it takes someone smart, a sustained effort, a serious commitment to build a loyal following. And just like in the real world, you can leverage connectors. So that's what I do at Miss Malini, we're connectors. I already have your audience, 18 to 35. There are over 2.2 million of them coming to me on a regular basis. Let me help you. If you have an idea, we can meet right after this or whenever you want. I'm easy to reach at Miss Malini, tweet me anytime. And come up with what your plan is, what you want to achieve, and your connectors will help you get there because they've already got that home base in their audience sitting there listening to what they say. And there's no reason why you can't be filtered into the streams of what the connectors are already doing. Building a following is half the battle, though, let me warn you. You can get the followers, but you have to keep committing to the relationship for them to want to come back. It's like any relationship. You have to work at it. So you have to keep them engaged. You have to do interesting activities. And just don't be afraid to commit. So like I said, stay in touch. This is my blog. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Google+. I'm on Instagram, everywhere. And that's it for me.
So, Malini, you'll have a lot of questions. So, so I think one of the key takeaways is the commitment part, right? So I do paragliding. 50% or more of the accidents that happen in paragliding is because we have something called committed run.
Right.
So when you get the glider up and you're running towards the end of the hill, if you basically don't have a committed run, then you're going to land up in trouble. I think social media, a lot of times, I think that's what the biggest challenge is, that the commitment is what it takes. So let's open it to the floor. Who's going to be the first person who will put up the hand? Yeah?
Okay, I have a question regarding the blog. I also have a blog and I love reading to blogs also. But you said that all the traffic on your blog and everywhere is organic. So you must have done something to get more and more people on the site. Yeah. So what's the main driving force to get more traffic on your blog?
So I'll tell you what. The main thing that I did was I created really compelling, interesting content. And then I created my social media channels to escalate what I'm doing. So I was part of the first .com bubble when I worked at MTV, when everybody shut shop and everyone closed their offices. And the main difference between then and now, I can tell you without a doubt, was social media. The fact that everyone was sitting on their islands selling what they're selling, but nobody knew they existed. So social media has been really key for me. So I would suggest that if you do run a blog or you run anything, you should really engage and create interesting content aside from what you do on the blog on your social media channels and create those conversations, get those friendships. Because if you make 200 friends on a Facebook or Twitter, if they like what you do, they're likely to share it, and that amplifies your reach. So it's still organic growth. So I would still say it's 100% organic. It's just about amplifying your reach by reaching out and going to where the conversation is. I think similarly for brands, the mistake they make is they sit on their stall and say, okay, now I'm selling this amazing shirt. Where are you? But you need to go to where the party's at. You know, the party's not going to come to you. You need to go to where the cool kids are after school and be like, okay, here, I've got these cool shirts. You want to wear this to, after school for fun. And you need to go to where the people are having that conversation. So you need to go join communities. If your blog is about, what is your blog about?
I write general stuff, like whatever randomly I write.
Random things. So I'm sure there's a lot of interesting forums or groups about different topics that you can maybe post your links on or get a conversation going. So you need to go out there and introduce yourself, just like you would in the real world.
For all the brands out here, you should continue your investments in paid media also. Please don't give it up.
I know. Absolutely. This is just an extension.
Anybody else?
Yeah. Is there a microphone here?
Thank you. I also follow you. I mean, you're like really trendy. Just wanted to ask, according to your TG or your thoughts, what do you prefer as a platform? for brands, Pinterest or Instagram?
You know, it's interesting. I think that's a great question. I think they're both so unique and different. I think it depends what kind of brand you have. So if you have a brand that lends itself to a lot of new real-time content creation, which could be a fun Instagram trail, or you can create interesting content around it. So supposing it's a fashion brand and you're going to do a fun runway to it, you can do behind the scenes. I think that's really fun for Instagram. I think Pinterest is much better for collections or creating mood boards or a series of images. But if you have a more specific brand in mind, I can probably tell you both. I mean, I use both. I find that Instagram is a lot more interactive because people tend to like and comment and do that a lot more, and everybody looks beautiful on Instagram.
Forever Mark?
Sorry?
Yeah, Forever Mark Diamonds.
Forever Mark Diamonds. Oh, you know, I would definitely do both. And I think that we can talk about this later, but you should do more than that, more than just create the Instagram channel. You can create a whole personality around it because you have this a beautiful bling that all girls love and are very easily romanticized with. So it could even be something different where your Instagram channel is run by Mr. Perfect, you know, and he's looking for the girl to give the bling to, you know, and that's something interesting.
So Shweta, remind me, we're increasing their fees, yeah? She'll be helping us.
Sure.
Hi, I'm Swati from cashkaro.com. I tweeted to you saying that I'm coming today to see you only.
Nice.
So I got a lot of favorites for that one from your team. But I just wanted to ask about your experience of doing a Google Plus Hangout, because it's something new. I haven't attended it, but I've, you know, people have got mixed experiences about it. So how was yours when you did the last one?
Great. First, great jacket.
Thank you.
I think, well, I've had a couple of mixed experiences too. One, bandwidth is a really important thing, so you need to have good bandwidth and technology. Luckily, the guys at Google here are brilliant, and we work with them closely. A couple of really fun different experiences. One, at Fashion Week in Delhi, we did live hangouts from behind the scenes, and that went really well because, you know, you could interact with the designer right before and after the show and get the drama and the action. And it's actually as simple as setting up the external, you know, webcam and getting a live conversation going that goes immediately up onto your YouTube channel, which is actually really great. And I have a great anecdote about this because I was doing this hangout with Salman Khan. And before the hangout went live, I was explaining to him how this works. And he was blown away. He's like, you're telling me that I can talk to anyone in the world, up to 9 people for free, and nobody else can see it, and you just wouldn't believe me. And then finally we got convinced him, and he thought it was amazing. So I think it's just that we just don't even realize the potential of things like that. And I think DVF has done this where they've done a live shopping hangout, you know, where they've had the opportunity to be in a hangout with the designer, and they suggest looks and you can buy them immediately. And I think that's really the next generation for it. I think the key to answer your question is making sure good bandwidth and you have a good tech team in place, because if you're the host of the hangout, you're going to have trouble struggling with doing the tech bits. So you need to have someone helping you run that part.
Last couple of questions.
Yeah.
I confess something today. I mean, I thought I was on social media and I kind of know about it, but I've never been to your. But
you will now.
Yes. No, it's wonderful what you've managed to do. I only want to know how have you faced the nasty side of, I mean, the troll and.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So how have you dealt with that?
So I'll tell you a secret. The opposite of love is not hate, it's indifference. So people who troll you cared enough that they felt the need that they had to say something. And so I approach trolls in 2 different ways. The ones that I feel that they feel genuinely wronged, that they're really upset that I said Ranveer and, you know, Ranveer Singh and Deepika are dating because they really want to date Ranveer or Deepika. And they get really upset. Then I sit them down and explain to them, well, you know, in the perfect world, you'd be dating him, but it's not going to happen, or something like that. But the ones who are just mean for the sake of being meanness, you need to identify that and stay above the fray. So you need to have a little bit of thick skin, just like any social person has to. And that's probably what makes us all a little shy, is that what if someone's mean to me? People are always mean on the internet, but there's more nice people than mean people, at least in my experience. And eventually the trolls do go away, and you can sometimes convert the trolls. So there have been people who are like, you didn't write anything about Katrina Kaif, why do you hate her? And then I wrote about her, and they're like, now I love you. So, I mean, they're pretty fickle that way, and they're great. So.
One last question. Okay, so I think I'll ask the last question.
It could still be mine. Are you, is this all, are you a book away, let me say, that you're going to put it all down? I'm sure there's just so much you've done with social media of all kinds that it could actually be a hand-holding guidebook for a lot of people who just think that they don't have it in them to be on social media.
That's a really great idea. I am actually talking to HarperCollins about doing a book. This is a really good idea. I must make note of that. I think it's a great skill. I've read some really fun books like that about blogging as well. To be honest, I think my book will be much more explosive about Bollywood gossip, but I will definitely write this one too.
Fantastic session. Malini, I
Thanks
think
so
there are a lot
much.
of things that I learned about social media, and I think some of the things you said is very, very important, right? You know, like you can buy likes, but you can't buy love, and I think I'm going to use it in my pitch presentations. Very, very useful. Thanks a lot. Let's give you a round of applause. So I think now, I think we're taking a break from these sessions. Appreciate you spending almost the whole day with us. It was a pleasure moderating all these sessions. And we have a masterclass workshop, I think, at 4:30. Malini, Julio, me, we're all going to be there, but it's going to be a small session with brands of how they can leverage digital Google Glass. Anybody wants to try out Google Glass, Julio has been kind enough. I've got a Google Glass, so you can experience it. It's an amazing device, and I think it's work in progress, but some of the things you can do with it is just phenomenal. Means I recorded a game of table tennis with it, and the kind of camera angles you get with it is just out of the world because you can't get it in any other way. And the thing is that I think the future is going to be, technology is going to enter the physical world. Whether it's Nest being acquired by Google, what Julio mentioned, there are a lot of companies that are going to be a part of daily life. So even asking questions right now, we struggle, but we have a question we want to ask. It could be that we could have a sort of a poll where you ask a question, and depending on how many people in the audience like it, that's the question that goes to the speaker. And these kind of things can be very, very democratic. And about concerts, I think digital is the age we're living in. It's not about marketing anymore. And the more and more we start leveraging it, that's the way we're going to get a competitive advantage to our company. So best of luck in the world of digital age. Thank you.